Welcome in everybody, I am Fruit Punch TCG and today we will be playing Kalgara on the One Piece Sim. 08 is basically upon us, so I thought this would be a great time to go over one of the decks that I'm most excited for. This is a pretty standard list if you're used to seeing any Kalgara list in general. I think the biggest spice here is going to be this Thunderbolt at 2. This is great to see in life. We are only running it at a 2, so I don't think it gets too cloggy when it does hit our hand. But if and when it does hit hand, you can also use this to go for game, to remove a pesky blocker that's in the way of your board and your opponent's life. Most times this doesn't feel too bad if you're able to hit your Ohm and Holly in the early game, especially if you're able to hit the Kalgara Norland as well, just to keep yourself healthy and establish a massive board. Cards like Flame Split also help as well. You're almost always getting opponent down to 2 life as early as you can, considering you do swarm the board. This is great for the main and the counter, just to rest another blocker, or if you do want to clear board, you can rest a 4 cost or less and swing into them as well. I am running one of this event here. I think this is great to filter hand and of course counter. It is searchable by everything that we do search in the deck. It can also get rid of the Thunderbolts sometimes if you have it in hand and you have a dead card to get rid of. I think the biggest problem you'll ever run into is really seeing too much of these events. But again, you can filter them out and it is easy to protect life as well. But enough about the deck list. Let's go ahead and move into some games and see how we fare in the practice meta of 08. Alright, it looks like we have our first game up against Enel today. A very fitting Skypiea clash. Opponent chose to go first. I'm not the biggest fan of this hand for second, so I am going to mulligan. We do see the Ohm and Kalgara, which is great. We also have a 2K and some support from our events. We will drop the upper yard here. Unfortunately, we are going to bottom deck 2 of the Kalgaras. We will grab a second Ohm in case we whiff on our next turn and pass over to opponent. Now, Enel does get a little bit of support in this set with the Bonnie, as well as the Egghead Nami. But this is a matchup I am comfortable with, playing Red Purple Law last set into Enel. We just want to see a little bit of that same aggression here into this match. Opponent is going to swing 8 into our 5. I am going to take this, and we do get the Shura trigger, guaranteeing one of those Hollies to hit off of our Ohm. That's fantastic, and just to really spice things up, we also draw into the Norland. I am going to swing 5 first, just in case there's any triggers. Opponent chooses to take. No trigger, which is great. And we are going to play out that Ohm that we guaranteed with the Holly. And I'm going to just move things up a little bit here because we are going to be doing some searching later on as well. And we'll play the Holly from hand and pass to opponent. Now, the worst thing we could see here is a Kadatsu. But we are just going to play our Norland Kalgara next turn, so we are going to start filling up board rather quickly. Opponent has, let's see here, 8 cards in hand. They are going to play the Shirahoshi to filter that hand. And draw 2, trash 2. So let's see what they decide to get rid of in this situation here. It is really great to see that we do have the counter and the ace for later rush potential. They do decide to ditch a Katakuri and an Onami. I am going to go ahead and give them a card here just because we are going to take life next turn. And I don't want to give them our only 2K, so I suppose I will give them the Ohm. And they pass over to us. It's unfortunate to see that we gave them that Ohm because we did draw into the Holly, but you know, hindsight is 20/20, so let's go ahead and start swinging 5s into our opponent here before we start using leader ability. The first 5 coming from our Ohm. They did filter out their hand, getting rid of some top end and the Onami, so it looks like we won't be seeing any banish unless they do decide to run another one. That first life is no trigger. That's what I like to see. Now, opponent could choose to take the next hit here. So because of that, I'm not going to swing with our Holy. I am going to just put the 1 on Kalgara and swing 6 into lead and cheat out that Kalgara. Fortunately, he is a 6K base, or I'm sorry, a 6 cost, so I don't think any of those triggers would hit him outside of a Beji, but he's not swinging. So They do give us a Frankie 2K. Now I'm going to go ahead and swing with the Holly just so we can protect Norland in case there's a trigger on life. And they're going to think about this one here. And there's that trigger. So I'm really glad that we didn't play out the Norland. So now we are going to play the Norland and heal and pass back to opponent. On 7 Dawn, we could see a Rush Enel. We could see another 5 cost play here. They could play out the Luffy, the Egghead Luffy, or they could play out the Egghead Nami just to get rid of our characters. But we'll ultimately see what they decide to do. We do already have them at 1 life, and if we are able to hold on to our board presence here, I am going to just start pushing them a little bit and see where we get. Looking in hand here, we do have the aces, so they are going to swing 10 at Holy, leaving 2 open. I'm going to give them that. We could see a Shirahoshi blocker with the 2, and we do. We draw into another Kalgara, which is phenomenal, because I am going to be able to cheat that out as well. It's a bit strange here. Decide what we want to do. Let's go ahead and look at hand. I do want to hold on to that 2K because counter's not looking the greatest outside of the events. The Holly, I'm not sure if I'm going to raw play that either. Let's see. You know what we could do? We could throw a 5 onto Shura just to get that first hit in, and I think that's what I'm going to do here. Yeah, I'm going to throw the 5 onto Shura here, swing into their Enel. Start off with that 7. This might get rid of the blocker, which is kind of what I want to do. But instead, we will get the event into the Flampe. Alright, well, if they didn't want to give me the blocker, I'm just going to go ahead and swing 6 next with lead and cheat out that Kalgara. We do get another one from life, so I'm not sure if I'm going to need all these, but seeing another Norland would be great. Okay, now we are going to keep 1 open for the event, so next we're just going to go ahead and put 1 on the Norland and swing 7. This is going to get them the filter, but if I don't do it this way, they're not going to give us the blocker. Let's see first if that trigger hits for them or not. And it does. Now, the good thing here is that we lost an ace from their hand for the leader ability. But the bad thing is that they got an extra life, but only 3 cards is pretty good. So let's swing 8 into them. They'll most likely take this and keep the blocker up, and they do. Fortunately, we've been getting very lucky to not get any triggers, so we're going to leave 1 open for the Earth Won't Lose event and pass back to opponent. On 9, they could pop our Shura with a Yamato, so I'm not really scared about that at all. Let's see what they decide to do first. I think in their situation, they might still want to play the Yamato just to get the heal off. They're not going to get any value. Yeah, that's what looks like what's going to happen here. So we'll give them the Shura. Not a big deal. And with 9 Dawn, we're all but guaranteed to see that Yamato come out and put them back at 2. There it is. The good part about the Kalgara and the Norlands is that they're not going to get popped by the Yamato. We do draw into a flame split. I could rest this blocker and get them down to nothing. First, let's see if they want to take that first life, because we're going to cheat out another Kalgara. Yeah, let's do that. Let's put 1 here on Kalgara and swing 6. See if we can bait that first life. We do lose the Thunderbolt trigger, which is unfortunate, but this is very well warranted. So they do give us a 2K. I'm going to try to bait out another life take here by throwing 1 onto Norland and swing 7. And they do take life, which is phenomenal. We're going to go ahead and do the flame split on the Kalgara, resting their blocker. And we're going to swing 9 into lead. They do take that as well, ditching the Katakuri. Next, I'm going to put out the ace. And we're going to go ahead and swing 8 into their leader as well. They do take that. We've been lucky with the triggers so far. Can we keep it going? No Beji. No, you're the one who should disappear. And they are resolving the Nami effect. That's great. I don't mind that. Let's put our last down here on Kalgara. Go 9 at lead. And if they have it, they have it. But that's a tall order. And we do take the game there as well. So we'll throw out a GG for opponent. And they disconnected. So that's our first showing for the Kalgara. Let's go ahead and move into our next game. Alright, moving into our next game here, we're going to be playing against the Pudding. This is another leader that I'm very excited for. They do choose to go second, taking away our curve from us. I don't really love this hand, so I'm going to mulligan this. And we do see some plays for 5, so that's great. No searcher for our first turn, so I'm going to pass over to opponent here. The most we could see is probably a Pudding or a searcher event, which is what they do. And they draw into the Pudding, and they draw into the Katakuri as well. For 3 Dawn, we're just going to go ahead and put that on leader and swing 8 at them. I'm not going to cheat anything out either. I don't run any 3-cost Shandorian Warriors in this deck, so if it's 3, it's either going to be a Holly or it's going to be a Kalgara swing for 8. So we do pass to opponent. We could see a Bonclay here, but instead they do throw 9 at us. Go ahead and look at the life here as well. They are running the Hakai Ocean Sovereignty and the Flampe here. We will take the 9, drawing into a Norland. Be great if we saw a Kalgara. Be great if we saw an Ohm off this search as well. So I think we're going to risk it for the Biscuit. And we do grab the Kalgara. And we even saw the Ohm Holly. But I really think Kalgara is going to be good for us next turn. And we'll return the cards to our deck here. I am going to cheat out a Wiper. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and swing 9 again to their face. And cheat out the 5-cost Wiper. Using card action, bottom deck the stage, and grab another Kalgara. And they do decide to counter out of this. They do want to stay relatively healthy because they are going to try to get to their big turn fast. Because we will see 10 next turn. Speaking of healthy, I am going to counter out of this, giving them the 0 cost with the other Wiper. They do establish the Katakuri, flipping the life back face down, but we do already know that it is a Flampe. So no matter what we do here, they're most likely going to take 2 hits. So let's go ahead and start things off with a 7 from leader, and we will cheat out the Kalgara. We do draw a Holy from life. If they decide to take here, then they have another 7 to deal with as well. Be really good for us if we could hit him twice. And they do use their own 0-cost event, getting rid of a Hakai Ocean Sovereignty. So we'll throw another 7 at them. This will most likely connect, and it does. And next we will heal up with that Norland from hand and pass back to opponent. Now we could see a 10 Mom here with a 5 and 7 to deal with. Fortunately, we're able to protect this Wiper if that happens, but instead they play out the Queen, filtering out a Pudding from hand, and the Bonclay is going to ramp them inactive. So 2 7s or a 9, okay. So they do throw out a 9 to our Wiper. I want to save this, so I will. I'll give him a 2K, and I'll give him the Holy. And next is going to be a 5 from lead. I'll also give them the Ohm, since we're not going to be using that. Now we do draw here. We could put the pressure on life, which is what I'm going to do. This is one of those great reasons why we run this Thunderbolt. So we'll start by doing that. I'll trash the top life, and we'll get rid of that Queen. And now we're going to throw some swings their way. We also have that ace in hand as well, so we could keep it pretty wide. So first we're going to go ahead and start with a 5 at lead. See what they decide to do here. They take, which is, that's what you love to see. Because next is going to be a 7. Just going to completely ignore their board here. Perfect. We are going to go 7 again. They counter out. But what they don't expect is this ace. So here's another 7. And we'll go ahead and throw 9 for the game. They do concede. They are running pretty heavy on this 6-cost event. I'm not sure if I agree with that. There will be a later video where I go over my pudding list. And I'll tell you this right now, ours is very different. But Kalgara into pudding. They did not see it coming, and we did end up taking the game. So we'll move on to the next one as well. All right, now we do find a Lucci. We're going to choose to go second here. We do see Norland in hand, which is pretty great. We have a couple 2Ks and a Thunderbolt. I am going to mulligan this just because I don't have too much to play early. And it's a beautiful mulligan, I'll tell you that. We do get the Kalgara Norland. We do get the Ohm Holly. We get the Flame Split. We get the 2K. We just don't have a Searcher, so we pass to opponent here. On turn 1, they did decide to do the Tempest Kick to draw. They use leader ability, and we see a Rebecca Spandam in trash. I am going to take this first hit. We do grab an ace off of life, and they play out the Brook, so go ahead and just swing 5 into lead. With 5 cards in hand, I could see them taking this, and they do. So we'll give them something to worry about. We'll play out the Ohm. And we don't draw a second Holly, but beggars really can't be choosers here. And we will throw out the Holly from hand and pass. So this Brook being on board could get rid of one of our characters here, coupled in with leader ability. They are going to swing 5 at us and reduce our Holly by 1. This isn't great, but I'm going to take it. And we do get a Satori trigger, which is phenomenal. I'm just going to kind of decide what I want to get rid of here. I'll probably just ditch the upper yard and play out the Satori. So opponent decides to put 1 on leader and swing 6, bringing our Holly down to 2. So we will definitely see a second Brook come out. We'll give them the 2K for that. And the Brook does come out and gets rid of our Holly, but our trigger kind of put us back to where we started. So, all right, this turn sort of pivoted out for us. I'm going to go ahead and swing 5 into the Brook, and we'll probably get a 2K from them. We do. And next, I'm actually going to go ahead and do leader ability. I'll swing 6 into the Brook and cheat out the Kalgara. The reason I did this is because it is going to buff our Ohm by 1K before we heal with Kalgara, so I'm able to throw 6 at lead instead of 5. But given opponent's hand size, I'm not sure if they would have just countered out of any of that, so we are going to then play out the Norland for 5 and heal and pass back to opponent. Now, what I didn't mention earlier is I noticed that they leader abilitied and they got a Jack off the top of their deck. I love seeing this guy in their trash because that means they can't get him back. So a Jack in trash is great for me. So opponent's going to be on 7 Dawn here. We have a pretty wide board. I think getting rid of a lot of this is going to be tough for them, considering the least we have is the 4K in form of Ohm. This is one of those parts where I just start trying to protect board, so we'll give them the last bit of counter we have in hand and force them to place Dawn on the Brook to swing. If they do, they're going to clear the Ohm finally. If not, we'll just kind of see what happens. They are minusing our Norland here by 1, so we will see some shenanigans this turn. Having 3 in hand is not really the greatest, but we can afford to take another hit to life because if we do get the ace online. So, like I said earlier, they are going to swing 5 into our Ohm here, and we are going to give that to them. Looks like they are trying to get rid of our gentleman here, which Sheep Soap is definitely going to help with that. So, Who's Who is going to remove the Kalgara. We do draw into another ace, which is not the greatest. Let's see here. So I'm just going to go pretty aggressive on life. Kind of put them in a position to block her up with a Rebecca or Sabo. So we're going to start things off with a 7 from our Norland. And then we'll do another 7 from our Kalgara. And we'll guarantee the hit here with an 8 from our Satori. Now, the reason I'm leaving 2 Dawn open is because we do have the Flame Split online now. So they're going to swing with lead first. And the great part about this is I'm actually able to protect it and rest that Brook. So he doesn't really get any value this turn. So if they were banking on destruction with Brook or reduction with his ability, they have completely lost it now. So what's even great too is them going on 9. They're going to have to put another Dawn on Who's Who if they want to try to clear the Satori. And I think they just realized that. So we really threw off their groove here, which is great because they did want to use the Tempest kick for that extra Dawn to bring our Norland down to 1. For 8, we're probably going to see Gecko. And with 16 in trash, they definitely have some prospects for Gecko. We could also see Jack. But the great part of this is they're going to have to play Rebecca if they do play out the Gecko. Okay, no, they're going to swing 9. You know what's funny? I don't have the counter for that, so I'm going to have to let it go. And for 4, they're going to play out the Rob Lucci and KO our Norland. So the unfortunate thing, again, is that we're just drawing no Shandorian Warriors because I would love to self-hit here to get the Ace online. So I'm going to just play Ace for 5 and swing a fat 9 at lead, put him down to 0. And it looks like they disconnected. I don't think they knew this, but the Ace wasn't online yet. Next turn, they could have very easily cleared it with Helmeppo, but putting them down to 0, I had another one. And with the 1K that we do have, the 1 Dawn that we do have for counter, we would have definitely been able to stay alive as well. Satori trigger on life would have helped. So that's Lucci and Kalgara. We'll move on to the next one. Well, this is interesting. We have found ourselves a Gecko Moria. They did choose to go first, so we do get our second curve. I am going to actually keep this just because I'm able to search with Upper Yard, and if we grab an Ohm, that's going to be great. We do draw the Thunderbolt, and they do drop the Victoria Sindri and get a pretty good looking trash here. So first we're going to play out the Upper Yard. We don't find an Ohm, and worse yet, we actually bottom deck a Norland. But we are going to take a 2K here, so things could have been a lot worse. So go ahead and just pass back over. Now they're definitely going to cheat something out. Hopefully it's not a Perona from hand. And it is a Perona from hand, so we're going to get rid of that Thunderbolt, and we'll just give him a 2K for the swing. I do want to start to establish things before I start taking life here. So first, we're going to just go ahead and swing 6 at lead. And we're not going to cheat anything out. We are going to go ahead and play the Holy Impasse. The unfortunate part is if they see any reduction here, they can definitely play out the Absalom and remove the Holly. First, they're going to swing 6 at us, and we are going to take that, and we do get to filter hand here a bit. I'm going to ditch another one of these Hollies as we draw into the Upper Yard and Wiper. 7 at us. Let's see what they decide to do. They play out the Hogback, and they're most likely just going to grab an Absalom from trash. And we're going to take that 7 here as well. No point in using the Flame Split unless I decide to clear these bodies, but they're just going to come back, so I'm not going to trigger that. We do see the Norland, which is fantastic. So first off, we'll just go ahead and throw a 5 at lead here. And with 6 cards in hand, I can imagine they're going to go ahead and counter out of this. Next, we're going to start with a 6 from leader. Throw that at lead as well and cheat out the Kalgara. Six from lead they decide to take, and next we'll play out the Mont Blanc Norland for 5 and heal back up. Now, the only bad part about that turn is that we weren't able to leave anything up for our events here, and we are pretty bricked up, so we're going to let them have the Holy. You know what? I'm actually going to give them that one last 1K because now they have to swing into it again, and we're kind of protecting life at this point. So we do finally lose the Holy. They are going to go ahead and attach 2 to Gecko. Looking at trash here, it looks like we're going to see an Absalom or just a raw 7. So they are going to play out the Saba, which is good because we don't lose anything. We actually get another Norland off of life, so we're able to heal back up again And this time we're able to save some Dawn open for our events. So we are going to keep 2 Dawn open, and then 5 of that belongs to the Norland. So just 1 Dawn to play with here. I think 6, 6, 8 is probably what's best for us. So we're going to just throw 6 at lead again. Just going to ignore their board, honestly. I am going to cheat out that Wiper just to get another board presence available. And I'll use card action and get rid of the stage here. We are going to grab another event, as that's our only target. And we'll see what they decide to do. Another 6 is probably going to get blocked out by that Sabo, and then 1K'd because they are going to take the 8. When we do these kind of things, opponent is just going to think that they're going to have lethal the next turn, even though we heal with the Norland. So that's good for us. We're just going to go ahead and play out that Norland now and heal back up and leave 2 open here for our events. So having the upper yard and trash is great. When we use the Earth Won't Lose, we'll be able to play that from hand and grab another counter. So we're looking pretty good. But it's anyone's game, really. They have also a pretty noticeable board presence. I think things are pretty tied up here. But what I really want to see is them go for life here, because I will aggressively protect board, because I want to have a big turn next turn, especially with this ace here in hand. We can definitely do that. So them starting off with just a 5K swing is going to make me rest that Perona there and put our leader up at 6. So they did lose another swinger because of that, and we did protect life from the hogback. So opponent probably shouldn't swing with this Sabo, so I think we've only got 1 more attack to really deal with outside of removal. We could see a Gecko Moria this turn. They do have the Suru in trash, so Suru and Absalom could do some damage. They do also have a Rob Lucci, so we'll see what they decide to do. They play the Ice Age from hand, and then they play out the Gecko Moria. So we are going to lose our Kalgara, and if they do decide to play the Suru, we will lose another character as well. So we'll see what happens. Nope, just going to be the Kalgara. So here we go. We do have Ace online. They do have a blocker. We couldn't have rested it anyway. If we had a Thunderbolt, we may have been able to bypass this and gone for game here. But I still think we're in a pretty aggressive state. So let's go ahead and start by attaching 1 to the Norland and swinging 7 at face. They do decide to take that. I am going to put another one on our Norland here and swing another 7. They take that as well. So I do want to keep some Dawn open for events next turn. So let's just throw another 7 out, see what happens. They have to counter this, or they'd face the wrath of my leader. So I am going to just go ahead and throw out a 5. This should be blocked by the Sabo, or a 1K wouldn't hurt anybody either. Yeah, they're going to throw the 1K. So next we're just going to play out the Ace, and I could clear a body here. Sabo 2K would guarantee another attacker. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and, I mean, it really doesn't matter what we decide to do. Let's try to throw it at the hogback. But if they have the 2K, they block with Sabo, but they don't. So we'll just pass to opponent and hope that the 3 standing Dawn and 2 life can keep us afloat in this. Opponent most likely will start with a 9K. No, they're gonna go ahead and do a 7. So the great part about that is we can flame split again and rest another attacker and then just give him a 2K for that. So now opponent only has 3 swings, and with that much Dawn, do I bait it? I think I do. I think I let the 9 go through. Unfortunately, we don't see counter with upper yard. They could, yep, they're going to split here, which is fantastic. So if they put 5 on Sabo and make it an 11, I could still get out of it. So I'm going to bait opponent here and take this life. I'm glad that things turned out this way, because the last 2 life was definitely no trigger, so, or counter. But no, we are going to go ahead and give them the 1K event here, playing out the upper yard, grabbing a 2K from that. And then we're just going to give the other event and play out another upper yard for funsies. and they concede here. So definitely fantastic for us. We were able to counter so much, and the flame split really put in work here, resting other bodies that would have went into our face. So this was a fantastic showing from the deck, and the Gecko player played it pretty well. So that is Gecko and Kalgara. We'll move into our next game. Looks like we have a Perona up next. They do decide to take second, so we are going to go first here, but we do have the Kalgara Norland in hand, so I'm not too worried about that. I will keep. No early searcher play, so we are going to pass to opponent here. I'm not sure if Perona is still running the Wano package. I can't imagine why she wouldn't, but I'm really not too sure what she grabbed from 08 outside of what Bonnie may have gotten or what Lucci may have gotten, but I feel like this deck usually leans a little bit more towards green than they do black. So they are going to do the Wano package. It is an Otama into a Momonosuke, which they do play out as well. We're going to just go ahead and throw 5 at lead here. And we are going to throw out the Holy, because if they have Ryuma, I'd rather them waste it early than, you know, more at our key pieces later on. So they do take the 5, and we do play the Holy. They play out the Borsellino blocker, and they're not going to really be able to use Momonosuke's ability just because they have no Dawn here. They do rest the Holy and swing into it. I don't want to let that go, actually. What do I want to do here? Yeah, I'm going to save that. I'm going to give them the 2K for that. Next, we're going to go ahead and just throw out a 5 at lead. And they are going to give us a 2K here. You know, I'm not really crazy about swinging with the Holy because they're just going to block with Borsellino. So we're just going to go ahead and play out the Wiper. No card action because we don't have a stage in play, and then we'll pass things back to them. So if they decide to rest the Holy and swing into it, we'll let it go this time, because next turn is going to be Kalgara Norland, and we could very well see ourselves up at 6 life. So I'm sure now we'll be able to see the Momonosuke actually find them a card, so that'll be something we'll have to swing into as well, so we do have to keep that in mind. Opponent is going to be here at 6, so, you know, if they're going to play a Ryuma or a Hiyori, this is definitely the turn to do that. Because they could just play out the Hiyori for 5, and then they would cheat out the Ryuma after resting the Holly, have an extra Dawn for leader swing or the Momonosuke, but they actually used their one-legged soldier to rest our Wiper, and then they Ryuma that. So that was a lot better than killing our Holy here, because then, you know, they could just easily block with the Borsellino. We will take the 5K swing, and they still don't use this Momonosuke, and they do keep the Borsellino active. So let's go ahead and start things off with a 6K to lead and cheat out the Kalgara. We do draw another Norland, which is fantastic, so we're able to keep our engine online. Glad that they chose to use the soldier on the Wiper, because that would have been very annoying for Kalgara. Next, we're going to just throw 1 on Holly and swing another 6, so they should block 1K here with Borsellino. Or they'll just give us 2. That's totally fine as well. We'll play out the Norland, heal 1, and pass back to opponent. So they are now on their 8 Dawn play. We could see a You Could Be My Samurai here, which is probably why they may have been keeping this active. But their resource pool is not the greatest, only being at 2 life here as well. So they are going to drop the Otama to search. They could refill their hand, which is probably in their best interest. They do draw that Hiyori. That could come out here as well. And they draw another Hiyori with the Momonosuke search. So no matter which way you cut it, we're definitely going to lose our Holly this turn. I'm not going to use all these 2Ks to save it, because, you know, they could just easily play another Ryuma with these Hiyoris in hand. So they do decide to start with that. They are going to get a card draw from this as well, so we'll see what they do with this Hiyori. I don't think we're really in the worst of positions at the moment. They do have the second Ryuma, so we did lose our Holly for that. So we'll probably see a 6-7 here if they decide to keep that blocker up. Which, you know, on 2 life, I can imagine they will. So we'll block the 6, and we'll take the 7. And we do get a, you're the one who should disappear from life, so just some more counter. I think I want to search here. And I'm glad I did, because I got another Kalgara. We could go for board, but I don't think that's really our game. I think we just keep going to face. So, let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Dawn for Norland. Keep 1 up for the Earth Won't Lose. And we'll just put 6 here. We'll go 6 at lead. Cheat out Kalgara. Grab Ohm from the top of our life. At some point, the blocker is going to have to do something because he's kind of just been sitting around. And I don't really care if they draw off the Momonosuke because I feel like this pressure to face is just so much more value than getting rid of, you know, 1 card draw a turn, you know? So they do give us a 2K for the 6. We'll throw another one at them as well. See what they decide to do. They actually take that, and we'll throw the 8 here. They could just give us the Borsellino. And they do. We'll play out another Norland, heal, and pass. So now we're basically saying, hey, give us a blocker, or I'm gonna throw these big 8Ks at you. I mean, you could try resting things, you could try removing board, but, you know, 5 viable bodies is kind of a lot right now for them. They could play out Doflamingo. They could rest our Kalgara, Norland, and our leader. But I don't think that's going to be enough. I think they're going to need more than that. So we'll see what they decide to do. They do have a pretty good hand size. The great part about leaving the Momonosuke up is because if this is a Doflamingo turn, they're not going to be able to get value off the Momonosuke anyway. So, you know, it's not really that big of a deal that we left it there. If it's not a Doflamingo turn, then they still have to use a Dawn for that, and that's 1 less potential 7K or, you know, a potential 9K at face. We are going to aggressively save these bodies that are rested if they do decide to Dawn up and swing into them. But just raw 6 from Ryuma into our Kalgara, I will give that because, you know, that could be a Dofi play. So that's what they're going to do. They can have it. Because if it is a Doflamingo play, I would just be wasting counter for a body that would just be rested. So let's just see what opponent wants to do here. I think we may have thrown a wrench in their plans if that was the direction they were planning on going in. They do play out the Suru, which is going to -2 to most likely our Norland, or I'm sorry, our Kalgara that's rested. Because we are going to see the Ryuma thrown into trash for the Gecko, which is a great play for them because they're just going to replay it and remove our Kalgara. But again, I just don't think this is going to be enough. They didn't establish a blocker. They're just getting a card draw off of the Otama, and they got rid of 1 of our 2 big Norlands, and they only draw into a brick. So I think this is actually just lethal now. If they want to swing 6-6 at us, I'm probably just going to take both. They do rest Shura. Yeah, that's fine. I do not care. So my thought here, oh, you can be my samurai. That's great for them. Wow. Okay. You know, at this point, I actually will give you a 2K. Things could go south here. I know this is a lot to ask of them to get out of, but we'll see. So we'll start things off with just a 9 at face. And if they do decide to counter out, it's going to be everything in hand. Now we know one of these is a brick, so we're dealing with 5 cards here that could be 2Ks, they could be 1Ks, Borsellino, Izo, and they ended up actually taking life anyway. I don't know if that was on purpose or not, but we're going to find out because I'm just going to put everything on the MVP Norland and swing face. And yeah, that was not on purpose. They had an extra 1K, so GG's to this Perona. I do think that we had a pretty solid game plan in the form of just establishing a wide board and going crazy at face. I think this is kind of the game plan for most of our matchups. I think there are some times where you kind of want to go for board, like with blue Doflamingo, but here I think that this worked out really well. So great showing and GG. And that is going to do it for today's Kalgara video. What do you think? Did we handle that well? I think we did. I think doing the Ohm and the Holly early on really shows you that incredible aggression that this deck is just so good at. Playing out the Shura is also a great, 2k body to swing into things sometimes. Satori is a phenomenal trigger in a searchable 2k. We got these really wide boards with these Ohms and Hollies, and then we were able to get really tall here as well with our incredible bread and butter combo with Kalgara Norland. We really showed the value of running ace here. You can really put on some pressure and just throw an extra 7 in there. Then who could forget the MVPs of our deck, these incredible events. We were able to get rid of that queen with the Thunderbolt and really show that that's just a great card to have, even if you're not triggering it. We also have that great Flame Split, which is another great trigger, but if not for the trigger, you could also use in your game, like these phenomenal turns where Gecko is swinging into you and you're able to just rest his 4/5s and really get that pressure off of you and, tell the opponent, you're not getting game this turn. What are you going to do next? And of course, who could forget that Earth Won't Lose? An incredible card for this deck. It's a must run at 4. But what do you think? What's your Kalgara list looking like? Do you think we can make some changes? Do you think we need to add something or take something away? Just let me know, and thank you so much for watching this video. It was so great to have you. I'll catch you in the next one.